So that's good. And then
Fabulous.
I got invited to do this thing called Bold. It's that
Yeah.
Keller Williams thing.
Hmm.
And so I'm doing that. Today is actually my second day of it. And last week, my first day, I got 4 appointments from it.
Wow.
So
Cool.
I'm not going over to Keller Williams.
I was going to say,
Trust me
do
on
not
that.
let them steal you, please.
Oh, absolutely not. They've already tried. So since I got my license and they're just too pushy and I love EXP. I'm not going anywhere.
Awesome.
Cool.
No, that's an incredible training class. It always has been, and like Stacy said earlier, it's getting into action. It forces you to do the action, and it's worth every penny of it because of that. So, yeah,
And they
fantastic.
gave me a deal on it. I only had to pay like $100 for it. So
Dang,
Oh,
that
for the
is a
whole eight
deal.
weeks.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man,
They gave me a little coupon code. Yeah.
They were
wow.
recruiting her big time, is why.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What about you, Grady?
Yeah, so doing the homework for Kickstart, calling through my sphere, I ended up calling my one of my nephews and touched on him. He unfortunately is getting a divorce, and
Oh,
he's got a house out in Lorena, just outside of Waco, that he needs to get listed and sold. So I'm going this weekend to pick up the contract on that.
very cool.
Yeah,
I mean, not on the divorce part, but
yeah.
definitely on the you get a sale out of it.
Well, it's got, those things happen
Yes,
regardless.
they do.
Life goes on, right?
Yep, exactly.
So,
And
Exactly.
yay for Kickstart. I'm in Kickstart also.
yeah, it's good. It's good. Those are good exercises every week.
Awesome. Who else has a win they want to share from this week or last week?
Actually, I do.
Or Lisa. Yeah.
Yes, I'm also taking Bold with Keller Williams, and I got my first listing out of it.
Fantastic. Great
Great.
job.
Yes, yes, thank you. It was a big win.
Very cool. That always feels good.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I have a listing coming up, but it's still going to be another like 45 days. I guess my win is that my seller finally got their HELOC funded so they could start their remodel. I'm not even, it's actually not true. It's the boyfriend of the seller. So they're consolidating. The girlfriend is selling. So I get to list her house once the boyfriend's remodels is done. So he finally got funded yesterday. We started this HELOC for him. I don't know, mid-November. I was
Whoa.
so frustrated with the HELOC chick. I was like, oh my gosh, this took forever. And he had great credit, and it wasn't even it wasn't a him thing. It was just a them thing. So anyway, he finally got funded on his HELOC, so they can start the remodel, and then I can.
Was that a second lien HELOC or is that a first lien home equity?
No, it's just a first. Yeah.
Man, my husband would have gotten it done a lot quicker than that.
I'm sorry. I didn't even. I went with one of my very good friends, and they just, I don't know. Whatever. But it's done. So who else has a win? And then we'll get started. Go for it,
Hey,
Tracy.
yeah, good morning. And Ashley, do you have a filter on? Your skin is like flawless.
I mean, like maybe a little bit, but not much.
Oh,
No,
good to see you all. And
thank you.
yeah, I wish we were in Hawaii, right?
I know, right?
I know.
You know, this last week, we've really gone into momentum stage. And it's like, man, you guys, it just feels so good. And it's taken 5 years to get to this point. But it's like, if you just keep focusing on what's ahead, it's like, you just keep going over the speed limit just a little bit. And it's like, you just keep in that fast lane. And now it's beautiful to have those other lanes open. And in one way I was explaining it to somebody yesterday, it was like, okay, you're still just in that one lane. And, you know, if there's a car accident or if there's something that happens right in front of you in that lane, the market crashes, whatever it may be, it's like, how hard is it going to be for you to get to the exit? Because you don't have any other lanes. And, you know, if you're in the fast lane, you're trying to get off on that exit lane, it's like, that's a long way. And you don't know where you're going and how to get there. And finally, it's like, gosh, in the fast lane now, it feels like we have so many awesome cars around us, and that no matter what happens, it's like we're going to have a clear passageway if you just keep to the action.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing I've seen is I've been using Dr. Abelson's success test. I'm not somebody to cold call and just go direct. I'm more relationship, give them value, attract them like a magnet because you're giving them so much value. They're curious.
Mhm.
That has been a really good piece. I have a 1-page little flyer I made, and it's just making me feel so good because I'm giving them value and it's a call of action. Then I can do a 30-minute strategy call on that. And then they ask about EXP.
Right.
And it's just been really natural. So it's like, if you guys aren't familiar with that, it's like, it's just basically the DISC test, but it goes into 384 behaviors and motives of digging deeper with someone. And it shows them all their time wasters and shows them where they're at on their circle. So like me being a high I, it's fun because now, like yesterday, I had a 21-year-old C, and I could show her, I'm like, oh my God, I need you. You need me. I'm like, let's run. Let's be running partners. And yeah, it's just cool. And the events, like I teamed up with Tanya about a week ago, and we gave more of a 2-hour event that was decrease your stress and build your business. And what it did is going decrease stress. It hit more the icon agents, and it hit more the agents that have been in the business longer, because no matter what, they're having stress. And so it was interesting on the messaging. And then it's like, we had a snowstorm on the first date, had to cancel it. Then we're like, shit, do we do a Zoom quick? Do you cancel it, push it back 2 weeks? How do we keep them in? Because we sold out our first time for 25 seats for that first event when it snowed. So then we did a quick little Zoom, and we rescheduled it 2 weeks later. And then I only had like 6 people on the second date, like 3 days before.
Oh, I
And I
didn't
was
know
like,
that.
we're not giving up.
Right.
I'm like, so we did only a few seats left. And I basically went to the MLS, and I had Fiverr strip all the women because it was kind of more of like an empower her event.
Mhm.
And so then we kind of did direct messaging. And because I said just a few seats left, I went from 6 seats to 19 in about 4 hours.
That's amazing.
And then it was like the next day, we sent out another one like 24 hours later, and we didn't even change the messaging. It was like just to catch them if they didn't see it yet, to remind them. Sold out that second time. Then the actual event ended up having 28 people. People came that didn't even sign up. And it was just so much energy. And all we were doing is just taking all the materials from all the EXP leaders that give us everything.
Right.
And it's like we made a workbook of, their worksheet's awesome. Their worksheet's awesome. And we just like put it together. And then it was like called like a workshop workbook. And you have that, then you have your branding, like a listing book. And yeah, I'm just so excited to see kind of everything. It's like, you're building a puzzle and you're missing some pieces, and you just keep looking for those pieces because they're there. It's just it's a big puzzle. So it's like,
Yeah.
you got to just give it time, sometimes take breaks, and then get back to it when you're in the mood.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome feeling when all the pistons are firing and you're finally getting that momentum where it's felt like, you've been on the struggle bus, or you've just been missing those 1 or 2 things. It's a game changer for sure. So
And mindset too. Like, for the first time, like 3 weeks ago, I said it out loud. I said it on this call when Jean was on here for the first time. Like, I gave my number, and I was like, I want 50 more in 2024. And I've never even like been public about it. And right now we have 5 onboarding. So that was, I don't even know, was that like 3 weeks ago Jean was on?
mhm. Yeah.
So
That's
ever
amazing.
since I said that, that's we've gotten 5 in the onboarding.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Say it out loud, guys.
Right. That's right. You're like something like 78% more likely to achieve a goal when you share it with someone else. So yeah. All right, let's do it. We've got Miss Stacy Bray with the Y today. She is going to lead us on, I think what you said last week was grace. And I love this topic. I think this is hard for a lot of people and easy for others. And so I'm really curious to see where this goes. I'm very excited. So
Well,
take it
I'm
away.
excited. I'm excited to talk about it. I got this idea just here in the last few months because after EXPCon, there was somebody there that was teaching a mastermind course. And, the mastermind course was fine. It wasn't quite organized. It was not, it was not empowering. It was just really all about them, their wins, and not really reaching out and trying to teach somebody or inspire somebody to do what they're doing to get their wins. And then I had a call with him 2 weeks later, and I couldn't get on the call, and I was 3 minutes late. I get the call, and man, he chewed me out one side, up the one side, down the other. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, really? It's like, it was 3 minutes. And I just started thinking that when I coach, my people are late. I know they're late. There's stuff going on. And it just started making me think, how do we lead with grace? And that's where this has come from. And it's not just leading with grace, it's also teaching with grace. And that part of it is really important to me because I am a certified real estate instructor, so I teach. And how do I have that grace to hold that class together and inspire them to do something more with their life? If they're late, I'm not going to chew them out. They know that. It's just time that they've lost. It's not my time I lost because I'm still going to put that whole hour right there in front of me. And if they're not there, I'm going to put my efforts into something else while I wait. And that's okay with me. And you have to be okay with losing that time, because you're really not losing that time. If you want to lose the time, that's your choice. That's not their choice. So if you set aside some time and somebody else is not there, get busy with doing something else, you know. And right now, I need a little bit of Tracy because you are the Energizer Buddy. I think we said that when we were at the event last year. Just find somebody that really truly inspires you and helps you get into the zone, get into the place that you need to be, not somebody that's going to chew you out for being 3 minutes late. So that's kind of my lead into why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I want everybody to have an opportunity to say things around what your experiences have been. We are not all the things I'm going to talk about. Nobody can be all the things. I think only Jesus walked that walk, and we can try to walk that walk as well as he did, but we will never be perfect. So I know I'm not perfect when I teach, but I just love to be able to be out there and inspire people. I don't think as being a teacher so much as I think in terms of I'm a facilitator, I'm giving you information, and hopefully that will inspire you to go on and do other things. Do we want to share my screen, or do we
If you
want
want
to
to,
just,
you can. However you want to do it.
okay. And to let you know, I am not perfect either. This screen that I've got, let me see if I can share it. The screen that I have is not my best. I do have a master's in education, and I'm very picky about my screens, but this screen is not exactly where I had wanted it. Let's see, it's going a little bit slow. There, can you see the screen? Okay.
Yep.
Let me. Okay, so here's the rest of the story is lead with grace and dare to be a better leader, a better instructor. And I don't say teacher as much as I say instructor. So when you lead with grace, you're providing that positive environment, and you're treating people with respect. You're supporting their ideas. You're supporting their learning. That's the other thing I had to turn around and really truly learn is if I'm going to help somebody with a subject that they need to learn, I'm supporting them in that learning environment. And I may go above and beyond, and I may coach them a little bit more than that 1 hour that they're given if they're really truly grabbing onto what they need to and they're excited about learning. And your key components when you're looking at this is empathy. That's number one. If you cannot have empathy, you are not leading with grace. Having integrity is another one. Humility is another. And then empowering people to do either what's right or empower them to take your lesson and make a better person from themselves. And then collaborate. And I love collaboration because when you collaborate, you are not the only person in the room that is teaching. So there are others. And if you guys hear something that just really truly hits you, please break in and say something, because I really like to have that interaction. If there's something that's talking to you, open up your mic and say something.
I think I want to touch on the collaborate real quick. I think what Tracy said about the event last week is that they did a workshop, and I think that key word changes the entire dynamic of an event. A lot of times when you say, oh, it's a training event, or whatever you want to call it, the workshop and the workbook implies that they're doing the actions there, right? We were talking about that with Bold. It forces you to do the actions, and most of the time you're doing it together as a group. And I think that collaboration takes away and strips the fear of, I'm not doing it alone, and other people are making a fool of themselves, or other people are being vulnerable, and that empowers everyone together. And so I think that's a lot of the fear that everybody has with doing the action, is you don't want to be alone, right? You don't want to get rejected. You don't want to, you're just, the fear is paralyzing for so many people. And so I think if we were to focus on events in that way, I think you'd see a much bigger difference in the outcome, because it just strips away that fear, and you have that collaboration, that togetherness in a workshop that doesn't come when it's just the facilitator or the instructor, dictating from up on stage and speaking the whole time. So I think that's really important in shifting the way that your mindset is around events.
Yeah, I agree. And
yeah, and it's just funny because it's like I never really studied myself internally. For 15 years in the business, I wore the D hat, I wore the I hat, I wore the S hat, I wore the C hat. I wanted to wear it all. I wanted the power. I wanted the control. I thought, this is how I grow my business. And that is what put me on that hamster wheel and had me going faster and faster, not getting off. And it's the heavy lifting that just, oh my gosh, every year, starting over, it was just so much weight on your shoulders. And now, I mean, just even for client appreciation parties, we're celebrating together. We're throwing them together. We're each doing one thing, and then we're saving money and time. And it's all about the value and the messaging and the invite. So it's just the leveraging of all these business partners now and how we share. It's changing my morning, my afternoon, my night. It's changing my entire year, because all I ever used to do is that competition of, oh, I want to be number one in the company. I want to make that top list, and for what, I do all this alone. So being able to really dig deeper and know what hat and what's your superpower and what do you want to wear every day so you can do it amazing and decrease that stress. Oh, I think it's huge. And so that it's just been beautiful being able to find those other people where you all celebrate together, do it together. And I think it allows you to be more real. Like Stacy, your perspective on life is just so beautiful. And it's like, we need so much more of that. There's so many brokers, I feel like last week, somebody's like, they're raising my transaction fee $175. Now they just raised my 100% dues, $250 every month. I'm a top producer, and there is so many agents of this company. What are they? And I'm like, what are they giving you? And it's like, did that broker even think about her as a person? Is that broker thinking about her life and her future? She hasn't spoke to him for 3 years. And I mean, this is a top producer in a brokerage that is just growing. and it's growing in a way that they're having more buildings, less people in the buildings, parties are going down, and he's just going bigger and bigger on brick and mortar, and he's forgetting about the people. He's forgetting about them and like what they want. And Stacy, I mean, like you're hitting it right on. It's like figuring out, you know, how you can be there and empower them to just really figure out to dream big and go after it. And we got the tools. So we got the map. Who wants the map?
And that makes that $20 increase on our transaction fee not seem such a big deal, right? Like that's the only thing. That $250 extra cap, hey, that's a lot better than doubling down. So it's all about perspective. All right.
You know, when I was working for a boutique brokerage, you know, you have your broker at the top and it's like they're the be all end all, is the way you feel and the way they portray themselves. And you know what you're doing, Tracy, is you got such a collaborative environment that everybody gets to say something, and everybody may be really good at something different, or you may all be the same, but yet you all have different experiences, so you're bringing something different to the table. And if we can't be open to that, then we don't learn. You know, so you are probably sitting here thinking that you've got this weight off your shoulders right now because you're sharing that load. You know, there's no better way than share that load. And I'm a high D, you know, it's letting go is really hard. But at the same time, I know that I can learn from so many other people. And my coaching clients, they're all I'm coaching my husband's loan officers, and I have 4 of them, and they're all new in various different stages. But if I go in with the attitude that I'm the one teaching them something and don't open my mind to them being able to teach me something, I've lost before I even started, is the way I look at it now. I didn't used to look at it that way, but now it's like, to me, that is empowering just for me and how I go about taking a subject to somebody and helping facilitate that learning. So to me, it's gotten to be a game more than anything, and I don't know everything, and I won't ever portray that I know everything. So, okay, so my next slide is the one that I'm going to tell you that is one that I don't like. It's not my normal, but I just wanted to keep this kind of, we don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm keeping it short. So I put it all on one slide, and it's basically these words, but a little bit deeper on the meanings. So empathy is an empathetic leader or instructor, however you want to put that. You demonstrate understanding, but you also show compassion, and you foster that supportive network with them so that you can do this together, because without them you're not going to be able to empower them without having the empathy in what's going on in their life. Like if the guy that was basically chewing me out, if he had taken 2 minutes to find out what was going on in my life, he would have known that I was frustrated trying to get onto that call because I was slowed down by a call from my mother who's 89 years old. So we have to be empathetic to what's going on in somebody else's life. And if you put yourself in the position of walking into a Chick-fil-A, I'm sure we all have been into Chick-fil-A at some point in time, what they're taught, and we're talking high school kids are taught, that when somebody lashes out at you, is frustrated with you, make sure that you give them that extra care and love that you need to give them, because something's going on in their life. They wouldn't be that ugly and lashing out at you if their life was going along great. They're not patient with you, but you need to be patient with them. And if you can show that empathetic side, it calms the other side very easily. So keep that in mind. Integrity, I mean, we all have integrity. I know we do. And each one of these, I think at some point in time in our life, we have all of it. But to be able to demonstrate all of it at one time is really difficult, because there's things going on in my life and I may not be as patient as I should. Or, you know, I say always that on the ethical side, I'm one of those highly ethical people that one of my kids used to always say, uh, I forget the term that she used, but it was like it irritated her that I had the attitude that we need to strive to do right. And if we don't, it really sets us behind and we can't be the example for other people. So integrity for us in this company, I think is running on the highest point on this. We may not be as empathetic as we want to be when we're in an environment where we're leading. And that I just want to remind everybody, think about who's in the room with you, see their faces. So I can see everybody here on the screen and I see your faces, and there may be something going on. And I know there's mornings, especially 8 o'clock in the morning for me is early because I usually stay up on the other side of the clock. As you know, Peggy doesn't call us out on that when I have my screen off. You know, there are many times I've had my screen off and she doesn't call us out on that. It's being empathetic and understanding about what we're doing in our life to get to where we're going. Humility, be open, make sure that you have that openness, that you're learning from whoever is in front of you. Make sure that, you know, they're contributing. So right now it's like, okay, I want to take a pause because I want other people to contribute on this as well. How do you feel about when you're in front of a room, what you're able to contribute, and how do you feel when somebody doesn't allow you to contribute? So there's an opening for you. So somebody talk to me.
I see Gary trying to come off mute. Who else?
I think you're just trying to set me up, Ashley.
Why not? Are you awake?
Nice. There's the bus stop. You're off the bus. So, you know, it's interesting. I just posted in the comments, you know, or in the chat a minute ago about different things, and humility, I think, is one of the big things, right? And I just had a thought running through my mind because prior to this call, it was why we were late. I was on another Zoom call and we're talking business with people, and they're really, and I'll get to a point here. They're so desperately, I think, like all of us, wanting to achieve things that they are fighting each other. And I had to stop the conversation because the energy was present in the conversation where one person would say something and you could just tell off their facial energy because they had their cameras on, that the other person didn't like what they were saying. And they're both a couple and in similar industries, one being a realtor and the other partner being a mortgage broker. So anyhow, I think what's really critical in my thought that came out of all of that, you know, I gave them some advice, you know, and said, you know, certain things, guys, we have to operate just like you said, Stacy, with grace. I said, that's one of the most critical things, guys. And I'm like, you have to have a to-do list. And I said, that to-do list has to be in a neutral footprint. You can't attack the other person for what they maybe didn't get done today or tomorrow or next week. Get to the point of what's going on with your energy that's maybe getting in the way, because that's how I coach, is maybe it's not what should be on your list and or is on your list. And I said the other thing, and I think this is the most important point that I want to make, because I was just thinking of it as you were speaking, reflecting on that, as I'm like, you need to be in your true authentic self, not your ego. You know, if you're in your ego, that's not you. That's the alter you that really is the one that's going to get all of us in trouble, right? Whether it's yourself or the people you're in rooms with. So I think that's where I come back to humility. You know, humility is basically, when you just read it, is somebody that's putting their ego aside in the best interest of all things and, you know, all energy. So that's the answer I have. Or maybe, you know, my observation of what I just experienced this morning, because it allowed me to first to be a teacher in the moment and also not come from a place of ego, because I could have been in judgment and it would have been my own judgment, not theirs, and could have then been very hindering and not helpful.
I love that, Gary. Thank you.
Yeah, Gary,
Tracy?
like, you know, your ego is not your amigo. Somebody said that from EXP like 2 years ago. And it's like, man, that's
I remember that.
Yeah, it's like all the time. But, one thing for me too is I feel like even all last year and even since COVID, like I'm more one that just excels face to face and in person. And just, I have a lot of expression and it allows me to just be more myself. And like in the last few years, I've always been on Zoom wanting to be perfect. So then it makes me be more quiet and more reserved because I'm scared to say the wrong thing or scared not to be perfect. And going into the new year, Rich Tomasini, he is just a hoot. If you've never, gotten a chance to listen to him, he's amazing. And he
Mm.
said he said something that really just changed my perspective. He's like, everybody, I've never had one perfect call. A perfect call doesn't even exist. That doesn't even make sense. So in life, why would you ever want to be perfect? And he has over 2,200 people in his organization, and most of those were from a phone call. And he's like, not one of them was perfect. There's something I would.
Uh-oh,
Oops.
we
Where'd
lost
you go,
her.
Tracy?
She
Hold that
gone.
thought, Tracy.
Yeah, she gone.
To be
All right.
continued.
Yeah.
She
TBD.
got so excited she hit the exit key. Or she went on that exit ramp.
Yeah. That's funny.
Uh,
All right,
well,
keep going, Stacy.
okay, so the other part of this is empowering other people, and I was going to tell Tracy, it's like she was talking exactly about how she's empowering other leaders to help share that load. And when we're out there talking, coaching, just make sure you're empowering other people to do their job not only better, but also to, just encourage them to be an individual that they may not be used to, and encourage them to know how to do a team environment. And even though we're all individual agents, we are a part of a team. It's EXP team. And we are showing the world how we actually handle our business. And the better we do this with grace, the more we're going to attract. On collaboration, to me, that's huge. I want to be able to open up this, the conversation so we can have a collaborative environment, because I don't know it all. I'm not going to be the one that has that perfect call or, a perfect class, because it's not perfect until you can actually let go of those reins and trust in not only yourself, but trust in the other people to be able to share with you. So the qualities that we're talking about, is still similar to what I'm saying here, is that first off, when you lead with grace, it's a it's special style of leadership. It's a style that I've had to get used to in the last few years that I've never done before. It's kind of the ego thing, you're the instructor, you're the facilitator. Okay, you're the one up in front, and you're the one talking all the time. You know it all, whatever. Well, you don't. And so when you can actually use this style of grace and teach with empathy and lead with empathy, you're having compassion for other people, and you're giving them their dignity and the respect. And I think I've got the respect in here. um, Leading with grace also entails treating others with kindness. Be kind. I mean, I have written that down so many times in the last year. Be kind to others. And I say that also when they're not being kind to me. It's like, don't forget to be kind. It reminds me that I need to be in the other position and have that empathy and that kindness for that person. And we have challenges. We're busy. We may not take the time to be compassionate with other people that we really truly need to do. And that is huge, is, how are you going to be remembered? If you're going to be remembered as the short-tempered, instructor in front of the classroom, and you're just rattling on, and you're not helping people understand and let them partake and them share. Because if they share, that's something you may have learned from them in that classroom environment. Even though you're leading it, you can still learn from others. And then inspire and motivate others. That's the other part of it. When you build trust, we've heard this so many times. I think in this year also, I think we're finally turning that tide, not only to, motivate people, but how do you make people feel? At the end of the day, how does everybody that you've touched their lives, how did you make them feel? That's how you're going to be remembered. That's going to be your legacy. And if you don't lead with grace, they're not going to be able to feel compassionate towards how you've treated them. And then just overall leading with grace, you're cultivating a culture which is respect, empathy, collaboration, all the things that we've talked about. And then it's just a well-being for everybody. So if you can help them be a better person, they're going to remember how you made them feel, how you made them a part of the team when there wasn't a team. You've reached out to them across the aisle, and you're dragging them along is kind of how I like to see it. If there's somebody that's quiet next to me, man, I try and get them out of that quiet stage pretty quick. You know, I was sitting at a bar the other day, waiting for a client to come in from out of state. And while I was at the bar waiting, you know, I was talking to the guy next to me, and the more we both opened up, he had a lot to teach me. And this kid was only maybe 25 years old. How he is a entrepreneur at 25 at the level he is at was amazing. And to be able to learn something from him, you just have to sometimes stop and listen and hear what the other person has to say. So you want to ask yourself, did you treat them with kindness? Did you allow them collaboration? Did you allow them to talk and tell about them personally, which is what we're supposed to be doing anyway for that relationship building? And Tracy had mentioned that as well, is that we're building relationships. So make sure that you're compassionate, you're building trust, and you're respectful. And if you've got all that going on, those other words that we've got throughout this whole thing says basically the same thing. So I'm opening this up to y'all because I want to learn from you. I've introduced a few things that we already know this stuff, but how do you feel about putting it all together and then lead with grace?
I want to throw out there that I think, especially with being kind, I think all of this is so, it's just amazing to me how many people can't do this for themselves. I think a lot of times it's so much easier to be kind to others and to give grace to others, but we forget how important it is to give grace to yourself as a leader, as an instructor, as a parent, as a person, partner in a relationship, whatever the dynamic is. We are all so busy and overwhelmed and scared and all of the things every day about what's coming next, or what are you going to do, and how is this going to work out, and all the things. There's so much anxiety and worry. And I think that I see in my friendships and my relationships is that that's the missing piece for a lot of people internally, is that they're not able to give themselves grace and forgive themselves and be kind to themselves, when that is all we need to do is. And I think it's just as important to start with, giving yourself grace as it is to give others grace. Because if you can't do both, then you are, like Gary said, in judgment. And I think it's so easy for us to be in judgment of ourselves, let alone other people. And we're way harsher to ourselves and meaner to ourselves than we are to others. And so I think I would just challenge everybody to, think of all of these things and don't forget you, because you've got, it's like on the plane, that you've got to put your oxygen mask on first. And I think that is the biggest thing that we forget as human beings, is you're not perfect. And so you have to lead with grace for yourself, or you are constantly going to be feeling inadequate, or, whatever the emotion is. I see this a lot. And I know I don't want to get into religion and all those things, but for some it's really easy. And for some, it is the hardest thing in the world, because we're not taught that it's okay to be imperfect. We're not taught that it's okay to forgive, or, whatever that is. But if you can't be kind to yourself, how are you going to be kind to anybody else? If you can't not judge yourself, how are you not going to judge everybody else? And so I just find so much freedom in myself when I'm able to give grace for myself first. And it makes it so much easier to love and do all of the things that you have to do on a daily basis. So that's my my biggest perspective on grace is that you've got to find it for yourself too. It's not just
Yeah.
about everybody else.
I love that because, I know I'm the first one to say I'm not perfect. And there are some times that I go into a class that maybe I didn't do my usual routine and I'm late and I'm trying to get ready for the class quickly and somebody's trying to approach me and talk to me and it's being short with that person while you're trying to prepare yourself for the whole group. And you just have to stop and you have to take a step back. It's like having kids and seeing the little ones in the moment doing something funny and silly, and you're having kind of a downer day and all of a sudden you see this child doing something that's just hilarious and you get to laugh out loud with them and you get to play with them and you have to just come back and just be that part for yourself and for the class because you don't want to take it serious all the time.
Yeah. Who else? Anybody else want to jump in? Come on, I'm going to call you out if you don't. All right. 3, 2,
I love
1.
this grace.
Oh, thank you.
I love this grace. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Stacy, this topic means a lot. And especially, having spent time with you at the retreat, getting to know you. And I love that. I love everything you said. Tracy, I just need like a shot of you every morning to get me going. Just a little
I know.
Tracy
Is Tracy
Perez,
back?
little
I think I saw her, but
Tracy
I'm not
Perez
sure.
shot. And in this business, oh my gosh, there's so many emotional ups and downs. And just thank you guys for always being willing to pour into each other. Appreciate that. And I don't know that I have any one thing to add to what's already been said other than I think, Ashley, you hit the nail on the head. We all have to give ourselves grace because we're our worst critics. If people heard how we talk to ourselves inside of our head, they would be shocked,
Appalled. Yeah.
And we have to remember, when you write down "be kind," it's not necessarily to everybody else; it's to yourself. So, good words to start this wonderful Wednesday morning with. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I just want to say hi real quick to Miss Ziggy. I haven't seen you in a while. I know you're not on camera. That's okay, but I'm glad you're here. Hope you're well.
Hey, good morning.
Hi. There you
Siggy.
How's
are.
everybody?
Hi,
Good.
babe. How are
Hey.
you?
Hey, good. This is awesome. Exactly what I needed to hear.
Good.
Isn't that how it always is?
Yep, exactly. The universe has the
Thank you.
message, right?
For sure. Yep, 100%. No, and it's so important, right? I have not given myself grace over the last couple of months, so exactly what I needed. Thank you.
Good.
Glad to see you.
Yeah. Who else?
I just want to say thank you for this. This is great. I too needed this, and to piggyback on what Ashley was saying, I think we should also remind ourselves to be kind also to our spouses and our children because they're the easiest that we can be mean to because we know they're not going to go right away out the door or fight us back or just punch us in the face. I think our spouses take a lot to, especially me when I'm in this new journey, ups and downs and learning and training, and he hears it all and he's just so patient, and I love it that he is because he goes, I'm just dizzy from learning what you're learning. But we have to be kind too because sometimes we get a little frustrated and the first person we lash out to is either our spouse or our child and children, so we have to also be mindful of that. And thank you so much for this, Stacy. Everything you
You're
said
welcome.
is wonderful, and Ashley, you did say the right things that we have to be kind to ourselves. We're the worst critics. So thank you again.
Dee
Everybody,
Dee,
thank
after
you.
you mentioned that, it brought something to me. My husband and I have worked together, kind of sorted together for a very long time. He's on the mortgage side now. Well, he's on the mortgage side is where he started with me. And then I moved back to my real estate roots and teaching his 4 brand new agents that don't know how to spell mortgage has been a challenge for me. And And I find I used to find myself, I've tried to correct this. It's part of this lead with grace is I've corrected going up after a call and just mouthing off on how I felt about how that call went, or that person didn't do their homework again, they were late again, they're whatever. I have to learn from this as well and take that step back. And I don't want to chew him out for his loan officers that aren't doing the work. It's like I need to stop. And he hears me. I'm downstairs, he's upstairs, and the noise goes from downstairs up the stairway, and he hears most of the call anyway. So he'll tell me, yeah, it sounded like you guys had a great call today, and he wants to know sometimes things that we talked about and things that he can do to help improve their business. But it's just me remembering that I can't come upstairs and chew on him because his loan officers aren't doing the right thing. So thank you for that.
Y'all, so I've worked from home since 2010. So long before COVID, this has been my space, my world. I wasn't on Zoom, but I would be on the phone and I would remote into computers and, all the things. And so since COVID, though, my husband's business has turned completely virtual, basically 95%. So now he's home all of the time. And so now he hears my spiel, I hear his spiel. So our running joke is, if anything happens to one of us, it's fine because we have both memorized each other's scripts, and I can do tile and grout sales, and he can come in and talk real estate. So it's fine. We got all the bases covered now. So interesting enough. So Stacy started off by talking about, a coach that, ripped her apart for being 3 minutes late. I had a similar situation over the summer. We were, as a group of us, trying to partner on something new, and we were trying to, get some regularly scheduled things. And a couple of us were late, and the coach in the group, the super high D, he was not happy. Like, he kind of did the same thing. He kind of ripped our heads off. Well, then as time went on, come to find out, this guy doesn't operate off of a calendar. So we would be trying to schedule something else, and we all had the calendar invite, and we all were there. And then he'd be like, "Oh, sorry, didn't see," or did whatever. And I'm like, "Hold up. No, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too, bro. Like, you don't get to judge somebody for being 3 minutes late when you can't operate off of a calendar and send a calendar or look at a calendar invite like the rest of us are accountable to." Right. So I just thought that was the most hilarious thing of like, how dare you come for me over 3 minutes when getting you to even show up is impossible because you don't operate off of a calendar. Like, I don't know what that world looks like. And that's not, no, I'm not there for the hypocrisy.
Nope. I wonder if it's the same person at this point, because
I know it is. It's one of two people. I know exactly who your person is. I'm not going to put it on blast. I'll message you. No, I know exactly. It's one of two people.
Well, the person that ripped me a new one was in the world teaching for the state, and he was late for that appointment. And so I sent the person that invited him, I sent that person a note about what had happened. And I said, anytime he speaks in this group, I won't be there.
Yeah.
No respect. Sorry.
No. No.
Yeah. Anybody else want to?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ash, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Anybody? If not, there's one other thing I was going to throw out there. I know Peggy is teased a little bit, but there is another retreat coming, I think in May. So definitely start to watch for and keep an eye out for specific dates. I think those are coming next week. So hopefully we'll have a lot more details soon. But I know that everybody that was at the retreat, it was, what everybody needed in life. And I think especially with what Tracy and Tanya did last week, these mindset things. Peggy was she thought I was totally against the retreat because it was woo woo or whatever. And I got in trouble for using that word. But I wasn't against it. I just was concerned about the logistics. That was my, hesitancy. But I think that those are the events, those are the topics that people are seeking, right? Anybody can teach a scripts class. Anybody can teach how to go do FSBOs. Anybody can teach, like, you can get that stuff and consume that stuff all day long. But learning how to be a better person, learning how to be a better leader, talking about the things that a lot of people don't know how to talk about or don't want to talk about, that's where you're going to find the meat and potatoes of the attendance and, the feedback and getting into relationship deeper with people, because that's where the good stuff happens, right? That's where the magic happens, because you're getting to the deeper layers more quickly, as opposed to the surface level of, oh yeah, we went to a FSBO class together, right? And we spent time but that was, you could get that anywhere, right? But you switch that around and you start to get to know them as a human being and what their struggles are and how do you help them with those struggles emotionally, mentally, whatever that is a far deeper connection and will last longer than anything you can talk about trying to, get somebody to move brokerages or come to a class or whatever that looks like. So I think that's where I would, encourage everybody to start thinking outside the box around what those topics are that we're teaching and getting together about, because that's, kind of the missing ingredient for a lot of places is let's not talk about the hard stuff, right? Let's not peek back behind the curtain, and if you're not willing to do that hard work, then it's all, you might as well just be a one night stand. Right. And I don't know if that was a bad analogy, but that's kind of the way it is. Right. It's just that surface level, connection that is not going to last. It's not meaningful. And people will leave that surface level connection over and over and over. It's an easy decision. But when you are deeply connected and you're on the phone crying with someone, I mean, I can't tell you how many times Peggy has gotten calls after these Wake Up Wednesday meetings, and just people are in tears and grateful and thankful, and those are relationships that will never go away, right? And that's when it becomes more about the relationship than it is about the business. And so I think that's really what people are looking for.
What I've heard from a number of people while I talk to them, about not really trying to recruit them, but just building that relationship with other realtors. I've had several of them say, how do you guys have a culture? You're in the world, you're in the cloud. So how do you guys have that culture? And it's like, I always come back and go, thank you for asking that question, because we have more culture than any of these companies out here. We're, a small brokerage company, and even KW, that we've got more culture than you know what to do with. And then I'll give them examples about what we do on Wake Up Wednesday, or, our retreat was amazing. I have very close friends that came out of that. I got to know you better than I ever knew you before. And, Ziggy's on the call, and Tracy, and, I mean, it's like having those people in your corner is amazing. And just being able to walk into a room and them instantly, they know you instantly, and be able to pick up that conversation where you left it 6 months before. It's a culture that nobody can mimic. This is amazing. So
when I think even from a, collaboration standpoint, and going back to the content for a second, I think society has done a really good job of separating us. And I think that being virtual has almost forced us to overcompensate to connect. Right. And so I think that's where it's hard to give grace. It's hard to, to lead and collaborate and connect and empower and all the things, because we're so disconnected. We're so alone all the time. And that's where that fear takes over. And it's so hard to reach out and say, I need help. I need this, show up. Because the fear and the loneliness is just so consuming sometimes. And when you know that you can hop into the world and jump into a class or ask for help or whatever it is, or jump on a Zoom, because there's Zooms all day, every day, and seek help and not be alone. Whereas even in these brick and mortars and people in the office, you still feel like you're alone because there's the competition, or there's, that they're not leading with grace, and there is no collaboration or empowerment or whatever. It doesn't mean anything. You can be, 6 feet away from somebody and still feel like you are the only person in the world. And so I think that that's where this has been so incredibly impactful, is that we've overcompensated. And with the click of a button, everybody has access to anyone at their fingertips. And that feels so much better than feeling alone all of the time. Like Tracy said, that person hadn't talked to her broker in 3 years. And now they want to come and ask for double the amount of the transaction and double the amount of monthly fees. That's not, no, like you don't get to ask until you give, right? And so that's not a two-way street. So, all right, that's all I've mumbled and jumbled, and sorry, not sorry, but I could talk about this for hours for sure. So we appreciate you guys, and thank you for being on, and sorry about the 2 a.m. reminder. That was Peggy asked me to post, and I was already asleep, so she jumped in. It was only, I think, like 7 or 8 for her, so not too bad. But I appreciate you guys coming and filling in and showing up as always.
You and Stacy did a great job this morning.
Thank you, y'all.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
You for sharing the topic. I really like what Ashley just said, right? About the culture that we over compensate for everything. Because I used to be with a brokerage that I was brand new agent, and I come in and we always have parties, like eat together. But for my business, I feel I'm alone. Even at that time, I was a team. I feel like I'm alone. I just didn't have direction. And when I get into EXP and I'm seeing like everybody like focus on the agents, like we learning all the time. You can learn from so many people, so many leaders from all over the state. It just give me an open-minded for learning different way to do business, and just being a good human being and just keep learning. And I don't feel I'm alone. I feel like if I need help, I have so many people that help me. So yeah.
Awesome. That's wonderful to hear. It's very validating, I hope, for everybody. Yeah. That you're in the right place and you feel that way.
Thank you for the opportunity, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week for the
Okay.
recap for Maui. All right.
All
Bye,
right.
y'all.
Bye.